here's another illustration of all of this. Arnold Schwarzenegger. Arnold Schwarzenegger went on CBS 60 Minutes on October 31st on Halloween night and said, yeah, I'd like to be your president. I'd like to repeal the 22nd Amendment. Now, Orrin Hatch, his good buddy, has introduced a bill to repeal the 22nd Amendment so a foreigner can be our president. No other country puts up with this, folks. Congressman Dana Rohrabacher, another neocon, has introduced a bill so Arnold can be our new president. And he's got Warren Buffett and Lord Rothschild literally funding him. And people ask, well, how are they going to get this done? Well, after a new terror attack, they're going to have a constitutional convention where they can rewrite the entire Bill of Rights and get rid of the 22nd Amendment. And Arnold openly says this is where it's all going. And then meanwhile, we're going to have this foreigner running for president in 08, but all the conservatives are going to have to vote for him because we can't let evil Hillary win. That's right, Hillary Clinton gearing up to run. Hillary 2008 already in gear, coming up in 2008. And so, see, we would have gotten rid of the 22nd Amendment, I'm predicting. And, oh, well, even though Arnold's foreign-born, we've got to have him instead of that evil Hillary. Well, wait a minute. Arnold is for abortion on demand. He's for stem cell research with dead baby parts. He's for total gun bans. He's for blanket amnesty and open borders. The guy has posed for multiple hardcore homosexual porno mags. The guy in a 1978 bodybuilding contest in front of thousands of witnesses, this is all posted on my website, started screaming, I hate all black people, calling him the N-word, going, niggers, get out, you're subhuman, screaming at them because he had to drop out of the contest because he'd had basically steroid overdoses. And they just pass all this up. He said in a Rolling Stone interview, I admire Adolf Hitler. I've always wanted to be a dictator. We have that posted. He then sits there and smokes pot in front of the camera. The guy admittedly gropes all these women and admits to it. And then he never sued these guys, by the way. A major magazine, Premier Magazine, in August of 2001 did a report where if somebody on the set isn't good looking, he makes them get on their knees and he calls them a dog. And he runs around calling everyone pieces of garbage. I mean, and my point is that the Jewish groups are endorsing him because he's pro-Israel, pro-war, pro-New World Order. And the guy's running around saying he admires Hitler and saying, I don't care if Kurt Waldheim's a Nazi, we love him. And going to Austria after he's outed as a top Nazi officer, killing Jews and American soldiers in Serbia, he goes and campaigns for him in Austria. And he hasn't given up his citizenship in Austria. He has dual citizenship and is the governor of the 5th largest economy in the world. Think about that. But the illustration is, I was there at the Republican National Convention with Kevin Booth and others as we were making the new film Martial Law that's coming out that'll expose this Nazi bastard. And we're sitting there, and these Republicans with their straw hats are just going, we love Arnold. They were crying. I was in there videotaping all this. They were just, Arnold, God, he's good. Man, he's great. He stopped that evil Gray Davis who was involved in Enron. Gray Davis wasn't involved in Enron. This guy met with Ken Lay and was involved in Enron. I mean, it's getting too rich for me. He's more liberal than Bill Clinton. And they're worshiping him because it's like George Bush. The issues don't matter. The reality doesn't matter. It's how it feels and feeling like you've signed up with a winner. It's the sports mentality. You get 3.5 million people out when the Red Sox win and 1 million out for Arnold Parade, for some football victory. But they won't come out to defend their country. They won't march against the Bill of Rights being burned, being torched. And so we're going to end up having a foreigner as our president, when no other country in the world would put up with such a blasphemous operation. When no other group would put up with having a foreigner as their president, we're so pathetic that even if he doesn't really win the election in 08 against Hillary, they'll still say he won. And yes, I'm for Hillary Clinton. I want an American. I hate Hillary Clinton. But at least people know she's evil and know she's bad and will fight against her. Arnold Schwarzenegger is far worse. Can you imagine if Hillary had people get on their knees and went, you're an ugly dog, aren't you? A woman wouldn't have sex with him on the set, and a month later her husband's on set, and he goes, this is who you wouldn't have sex with me for? An arrogant power trip worm? A punk? A piece of filth? A steroid head? This is what we've come to, ladies and gentlemen. The son of a Nazi. When his daddy died, his mommy married the top Nazi in Austria. A guy who campaigns for Nazis. A guy who says he admires Hitler. On video and the major newspapers. And it's okay, because he's the New World Order's boy. Just like George Bush was the New World Order's boy. And it doesn't matter if he's with the biggest government in history. Doesn't matter if he's giving you national ID cards and Patriot Act 2s. They don't care. And by the way, a lot of you think that this Homeland Security and the Patriot Act is just for terrorists and Muslims. You didn't. They're training all over the country that homeschoolers are terrorists, practicing for mass arrests, practicing for gun confiscations. I put this in films 3-4 years ago. Now it's mainstream news. Just type in federal drills where homeschoolers are terrorists into a search engine. They're on my website, but just type it in for yourself. It's all for you, people that don't want to be part of this system. Whether you're liberal, conservative, libertarian, you don't want to be part of this corrupt system, you don't want to be raped, then you're the enemy. I have articles right now. I interviewed the lady. Puffer Belly Toys, a small 2,000 square foot small town toy store in St. Helen, a small town outside Mount St. Helens in Oregon. She started carrying something called the Magic Cube, a knockoff of the Rubik's Cube, because the Rubik's Cube patent ran out. And she got a call and said, Homeland Security is coming to visit you. You're in a lot of trouble. She said, oh my God, well, what is it? We can't tell you. 2 months later, they called her in July. In late September, they visit her in the tiny town of St. Helens, a couple thousand people. And they walk in without an order, without anything, and with their guns and said, on their sides, and said, you take the Magic Cube off the shelf. Just type in, toy store owner gets Homeland Security visit. Don't believe me. Have the article here, but just go read it for yourself. And she gets this visit, and they say, take the toys off the shelf. And she says, okay. And then they leave, and she calls the toy maker, having me in Washington State, and they go, no, they haven't visited us. Patents up. A bunch of people are manufacturing this now. And she found out they were visiting toy stores all over the country. The sellers, not the makers, because there wasn't a law. There had been a campaign contribution by the makers of Rubik's Cube. So Homeland Security has our northern and southern border wide open. Less border patrol than we had 3 years ago. All of this going on. And they can send 2 agents and scare a woman for months and send them to Puffer Belly Toys in St. Helen, Oregon. So the agents drove over 200 miles out of Seattle, Washington to come visit her and say, without an order. See, in America, in a dictatorship, take that off your shelf, no order. You know, you get a jury, you get a judge, you get due process. Not in America. And folks, on PrisonPilot.com, on Infowars.com, I know it's also on a new great website I've seen. Been talking about this in the phony drug war, AmericanDrugWar.com. You go and you look at it, and I have hundreds of articles where somebody caught with a half ounce of pot, somebody speeding, a county commissioner who took $4,000 to give somebody some more parking spaces, to zone some more parking spaces, people involved in family violence. They're being told, you don't get a jury, you don't get a trial. Patriot Act. Homeland Security, every time I read about $1.2 billion in cameras in New York, or $500 million in San Antonio in cameras, face scanners, they'll track you in neighborhoods, little cameras on long, 2-mile-long cables that buzz around like something out of Star Wars, watching us. Ground-penetrating radar, helicopters looking through our walls. And it's Homeland Security paid for it to fight terror and crime. Crime is terror. This is the reality. And I just want to remind you that GOP has a super majority, a huge majority now in the Senate and the House, bigger than ever. Bush has the executive, they have most of the states, they have the judicial with the Supreme Court, 7 of the 9. We got a Supreme Court saying we follow UN edicts, UN orders. We got Anthony Scalia, days before he's going to hear the case of Dick Cheney, flying around his private jet duck hunting. That's like Al Capone's going on, taking the judge on trips 2 days before his trial. It's all criminal. It's all out in the open. They're not held responsible. Corruption has gone to seed. We're entering a very decadent, tyranny-filled phase right now. A phase where stuff like this happens. This is after the Red Sox won, and no one was rioting, but they said, well, it might be dangerous at 12 o'clock at night to have people out celebrating. So they admittedly had police dogs go out and just